Welcome to the Seahawkers podcast with your hosts, Adam Emmert.
There's no rule against throwing the shoe. And then there's no rule against going and running hurry up.
And Brandon Schultz.
Imagine Sebastian Janikowski walking on a tightrope, and that's what it looks like.
Go Hawks!
This is episode 230 of the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and joining me, my good buddy, Montana Seahawker Adam Emmert.
Man, cruise to a victory finally. That feels good.
Yeah, like Pete Carroll said in the press conference, It feels a little bit different when they're not these close games at the end.
Yeah, that was evident, like watching it. I'm sure you didn't see it from the stands, but Pete was in just full yuck it up mode on the sidelines seemingly the whole game.
Well, I went back and rewatched it a little bit, and I think it was a procedural penalty or some offensive penalty. And the announcer was like, "Oh yeah, the coaches are usually livid when something like that happens." And the camera goes to Pete Carroll, and he's chewing his gum and all,
smiles,
chopping
and
it
laughing
up with the coaches, and the announcer comment, as you can see, he is livid.
Yep. Just furious.
Well, when you get a 43-16 victory over a division rival like the 49ers, it feels pretty good.
I'd imagine. I mean, to me, that's taking care of business. I know a lot of people were really fired up about that game. I kind of got done with that game thinking, okay, that's what you should do for the most part. But there were still a lot of areas that I felt like really just kind of underperformed. And it's not nearly as impressive as a score to me.
When you're expecting your team to be a playoff caliber team, you expect your team to go out and dominate. And really, that's what the Seahawks did. Now, they didn't dominate statistically necessarily, but in terms of the score and what they were able to do, you see yardage make a difference in this game. Well, it didn't make a difference, but it was a contrast that was noticeable. And I think we have a new yardage truther to out as part of this game.
Yeah, apparently Richard Sherman not impressed with Russell Wilson's game, considering that, he threw for 4 touchdowns, but I guess he did have a bad game. It was 185 yards, so it was a bad game.
Yeah, the 49ers had something to do with that too, because you can't commit pass interference on 3 separate plays. That has an impact, especially in one of them's like a 50-yard pass interference.
Yeah. I mean, again, just another reason why people that really measure themselves by yards isn't great. But with that said, it didn't feel good to give up those kind of yards to Nick Mullins either.
The one thing that did feel good was at the end, shutting them down, keeping them from scoring one last time before the game was over. Let's get into this game a little bit more. Let's get into the Minnesota game coming up. And we have a lot to talk about, and especially in a week where we skip our post-game reaction show.
You skip it like we just blew it off. Like I was working while the game went on. So watching it was a bit of a difficulty. You were, I don't know, what is it, 8 hours away?
Yeah, attendance.
Loaded up right after the game and drove back. Yeah, we just blew it off while I drove 2.5 hours home and you drove 8 hours home. I mean, how dare we not get to that post-game reaction?
Not saying how dare we. It's just that we just didn't do it. We blew it off.
Yeah, blew it off.
One guy who didn't blow off the 49ers was Bobby Wagner. He showed up for this game. Yeah,
he's showed up all season. And I mean, the stats finally match the dominance that he's had throughout the year. And really kind of the shining star on defense by far. Just give me a break. He set the franchise record for a returned interception.
Slot left side. Seattle rushes 3. Mullins throws to the middle. It's intercepted. Going the other way. He's out across the 30, the 40, midfield, down the far sidelines. Is he going to outrun everybody? He is. It's Bobby Wagner from the goal line. 99 yards. He lays down in the end zone. Somebody bring him oxygen. Bobby Wagner all the way the length of the field. The quarterback couldn't catch him, and Wagner will pin that picture on his wall. He is mic'd up and he is breathing hard. Bobby Wagner with a 99-yard touchdown interception What a play by number 54. Somebody call the wagon. He may not be able to get off the field on his own.
Officially a 98-yard interception return, but yes, the longest in Seahawks history. And put a nice little bow on the end of the game with putting the Seahawks up 43-16. They didn't get the extra point after that. Janikowski missed 2 extra points, but you know what it did do? It kept the streak alive. The streak of scoregami.
Nope, we're not going down this road. This is so freaking stupid.
9 straight
people
years.
Are making a deal out of this like it's a deal. I could care less. I don't want to talk about this for a second.
9 straight years. They've won with a score that nobody in the NFL has ever done.
I hate it.
Why do you hate neat stuff like this? There's just wacky crap.
It isn't neat. Who cares? I don't want to waste a second of my life on this. Pete Carroll seemed to get a kick out of it, though, for whatever reason.
Yeah, we're setting aside some minutes to talk about uniform color in the show, but I'm sure we'll get to that.
Well, I don't even have to make that long. You know, I said my piece on the social medias. Like, everybody knows. But, who cares about the score as far as it being unique, whoop-de-doo. What I like is it was a drubbing of a rubbish team in our division. And I love that they shut Richard Sherman up. That was real fun.
He had a rough time in the press conference. I like making it rough in him. And he had to talk about the first touchdown of the game that was actually credited against Richard Sherman.
Russell pressured, now steps back, now throws far side, complete touchdown, but a flag is thrown as Jerome Brown makes the catch, but I wonder if he pushed off or if somebody tried to grab him in the end zone and hold him to keep him from getting to the ball. Let's see what the call is from Clete Blakeman.
Fire the pass, illegal contact, defense.
I'm not sure Pro Football Focus credits that against Sherman, but that was against Sherman.
I think they did. I think I saw Pro Football Focus credit of a touchdown against Richard Sherman in this game.
Oh, okay, because I thought I saw somewhere that they said that he didn't get targeted once.
No, he was targeted twice in this game. Right. From what I read anyway, it was the one touchdown to Jerome Brown, and then Doug Baldwin gave him a nice little move, and Richard even explained it in his own press conference, saying that Doug usually goes in on a play, and instead he went out and he got faked out, and Doug Baldwin caught a nifty little pass on him.
It was fun seeing his mopey face in the 49ers uniform.
Yeah.
I think he wished he'd maybe take a little less money to stick around, be winning.
Gosh, I wish they would have. He's having a good year.
Yeah, he's having a decent year. I think he'll have a better year next year. I think he's still coming back. So, I mean, give him some credit.
Right. And really 2 completions on Sherman. I mean, that's not that great of a day.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's fine. But why would you even throw at Sherman when the rest of their defense is such trash?
Exactly.
I mean, Russell Wilson, take your pick, right? When you throw nearly 50% of your completions as touchdowns, that tells you a lot right there.
Well, this one was the prettiest.
Russell takes the snap, steps up in the pocket, looks, has time. Now he's going to throw.
Hey, I'm Russell Wilson, and I throw a sexy deep ball.
Tyler Lockett looks for the ball. He's got it. Touchdown! Seahawks! Malcolm Smith, the linebacker on coverage. He can't do it. Tyler Lockett judges it perfectly.
Yeah, oops. Don't put a linebacker on Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, Malcolm Smith's a quick dude, but, I mean, he's not
Tyler Lockett
quick.
Hey, didn't Cassius Marsh get it on a play, too? Can we round out the trifecta of former Seahawks? Nobody scored a touchdown on Cassius Marsh?
Not that I know of. I mean, he might have been on the field.
Yeah, he was. I saw him.
Maybe he missed on Penny's 20-yard rushing TD. Maybe he was there when Russell dumped off the 1-yard pass to Baldwin. He was around. Brock Coyle, he was on the sidelines.
Hey, let's talk about those running backs a little bit. Basically, it's the Thunder and Lightning show at this point, right? Chris Carson just goes in there and thumps people, and then Penny skirts it to the outside. He really doesn't want to run inside. There's no part of Rashaad Penny that likes running inside. He'll take every excuse possible to break it outside.
He did have a couple runs inside, but he's clearly better running it on the outside. Chris Carson on the day, 13 attempts, 69 yards, 5.3 average per carry, and you got Rashaad Penny, 7 attempts, 65 yards, 9.3 per carry. And really, the one that set up Penny's touchdown was that 84-yard kickoff return in the third quarter by Tyler Lockett.
Kicking right to left, end over end. Tyler's going to come up on it. 3 yards deep, brings it out across the 5 to 10, 15, 20. Has a gap, 25, 30. There he goes, 40. Turning upfield, midfield. He could go all the way, 40, 30, 25, 20, and finally tracked down Tyler Lockett. I had a feeling this might be his day, and he ends up about 18 yards from pay dirt as he took it 4 yards, 3 yards deep, all the way down to the 13-yard line.
So yeah, opening kickoff, still up 20-3 to start the second half, and the first play, and Lockett nearly houses it.
Yeah, you gotta get there, dude. I hope people made fun of him.
Well, he got past the kicker, and then Jaquaski Tart brought him down.
Yeah, I know. Still got to outrun him, right?
Yeah, he's kind of fast, though.
I know. But great return, though. I mean, it was blocked up really, really well. It was nice to see Tyler finally break one. We've been waiting for that.
We have been. I thought he was going to take it all the way after he got by the kicker, but it didn't matter because Rashaad Penny on the very next play does this.
1st and 10 for the Seahawks. Just outside the 20, the toss left side, Penny. 15, 10, 5, touchdown! Seahawks! Man, oh man! We are 16 seconds into the third quarter, and the Seahawks are on the board from 20 yards out.
And when you talk about the running backs, Adam, you got to talk about this offensive line. Those dudes were getting outside and blocking really nicely for some of those runs toward the outside.
Yeah, the offensive line had a great day all the way around, except for the Fluker injury.
Yeah, gosh. And he was not happy about that.
No. That's, again, one of the things when I came out of this game, like, you know, everybody's so fired up that we drubbed the Niners, and it was like, but we also lost Fluke. And it doesn't look good when you have to get on the cart to get taken back in for a hamstring issue. We haven't gotten any updates, really.
Pete Carroll, in his Monday press conference, said it was like a grade 1. And he said that usually with those, it's at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, and he had a hamstring issue earlier in the year. I don't know if it's the same one.
But really, if you're going to pick a time of the year to get hurt, when you still have a game against the 49ers and Cardinals, it's not, if you're going to pick this time versus that one really tough 4-game stretch they went through, now's kind of better.
Sure wish you could have hung out for one more game.
Yeah, against that Vikings defensive line.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, although didn't Simmons play against the Rams?
He played last against the Rams and played very well. Mm-hmm.
And that's a big boy defensive line.
Right.
Much like the Vikings coming up. So, I mean, I'm not like distraught over it. I don't think the season's over. I think that obviously the Seahawks put themselves in great position to make the playoffs at this point. But yeah, I would have rather not see that injury. But, you know, talking about some other dudes that had big games, like if we want to go positive a little bit, remember that Jerome Brown's on the team?
He's on the team. Yeah, well, the first highlight I played was with Jerome Brown.
We didn't mention him, though.
Oh, that's right. We just mentioned Russell.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I just wanted to give Jerome Brown some love. Like 2 tugs. Yeah, nice day.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns. He had the one big play, the one throw that wasn't a touchdown in the first half. Russell Wilson's stat line in the first half, 4 completions on 6 attempts, 3 touchdowns. And the one that wasn't a touchdown, 102 yards.
Terrible.
149.3 quarterback rating.
That is pretty ridiculous.
4 completions, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's getting it done. I have to ask you, the end zone celebration with when they all stood in the line and did dudes would step forward and kind of like wave or something.
Oh yeah.
Like I know what it is in retrospect, but did you know what it was in the moment?
I didn't know what any of them were really in the moment because you had, after the Jerome Brown touchdown, the officials were explaining the flag, and so the TV didn't even pick up on the tip, the recreation of the tip.
No.
Which was disappointing because that was the best celebration.
Because that's pretty good troll.
And then they did the digging for gold, which kind of looked weird.
Oh, that one I didn't see either.
And then I think that was on Lockett's touchdown.
Okay.
And then it was the third one where they did the scene from Life.
Okay. So now that it's been brought to my attention what that was, and I watched the little YouTube clip of that. I've never seen that movie before in my life.
That's a 20-year-old movie. So even if you had.
I had no clue what that was. No clue. You're getting a little obscure here, guys. Like, you got to keep it a little more relevant. Like, tip I got. Like, good job.
Each generation has their movies that, like, they know.
Yeah.
And I think
that would have been in our wheelhouse.
It was late 90s.
Yeah.
It was just outside of my wheelhouse, I feel like.
You were just starting your movie prime.
Yeah, but
you're still in your movie prime. You watch so many movies.
It's also not my demographic, though.
I don't even know what the movie's about.
It's Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence, and they go to jail, and it's kind of their life throughout their time in jail together.
Oh, interesting.
They're buddies.
Okay. So it's kind of like a buddy cop comedy, only
buddy criminal
felons. Yeah, instead.
Right.
Okay.
It was Eddie Murphy's last R-rated movie.
Oh, is that when he stopped being funny?
He didn't stop being funny.
No, he stopped being funny.
Okay.
And you had to go to Charlie Murphy to get funny Murphy things in. Well, yeah, he got all weird about like things for his kids or whatever. I don't know. Started doing Dr. Dolittle and crap.
We grow up.
Yeah,
dudes
wasn't
grow up.
Fine for me.
George Carlin did
Catfish
in Thomas the Train.
Sure, but he also came out on stage and still, let it rip.
But getting back to the game, Russell did have a comparable second half compared to the first half. Finished 11 of 17, 185 yards, and 4 touchdowns on the day, 140.9 quarterback rating. What more does Russell need to do when you put up 43 points on the board?
Well, apparently not much, because he finally got the attention of a lot of the national media, and people started talking about him. You saw Nate Burleson gushing all about him on Good Morning Football, being the best quarterback in December, yada, yada, which he is. And Danny Kelly, who we know Danny, he wasn't not like Russell Wilson was off his radar, but he was finally allowed to write an article for The Ringer, to talk about Russell's greatness. And so that was nice.
Yeah.
That was a good read. People are starting to figure it out that he's having a big time year. And a lot what Danny brought up in his article is like, we didn't know if we'd ever see Russell Wilson actually have the sort of efficiency and have the sort of year that he did. That second half of what year was that?
It was the second half of 2015.
And we never knew if we'd see that again. And here it is. Guess what? You just have to give him a little time. Like, you have to have some semblance of an offensive line, and look at what you get. You get a maestro.
I'm enjoying it. This is fun. Richard Sherman, not enjoying it so much, though. And he was in the press conference and asked about Russell Wilson's day, and apparently he wasn't feeling up for giving Russell any kind of credit.
He played well, I think he threw for like 160 or 170. The running game was really effective, and they let him get to his spots and kept the game plan simple.
They kept the game plan simple for Russell.
Doesn't have to be complicated when he's torching your ass.
Yeah, it doesn't take a really hard game plan to get past the 49ers.
Apparently not. Yeah, the Shermanators were not all that formidable.
Yeah, Sherman needs to work on his smack talk a little bit, because he was telling Bobby Wagner that he looks slow out there.
He's like, he said, you guys must be real slow then, because you couldn't catch me.
Right.
Which is an amazing comeback. Good job by him.
So you had Sherman talking about Russell's 160 or 170 yards. And then later on in his press conference, he was sure to bring up how many yards Nick Mullins was throwing for.
The guys are fighting hard and giving us the best chance. Kyle's coming up with great game plans, and obviously Nick threw for 400 today. So the guys are getting yards. We just got to execute in the red zone, and on defense, we got to find a way to get the ball.
So he's sure to bring up Nick Mullins' 400 yards. Is Richard Sherman a passing yards truther?
Apparently. I think he's a truther to anything that fits his argument in the moment. I think that's the truth he's most interested in.
Yeah.
It's a debate tactic that is applied each and every day in our culture these days. Like, everybody seems to be doing that.
You pick the thing that fits your argument the best.
Truth isn't truth. Everybody's got our alternative facts.
Yeah,
all that stuff. You can pick whatever truth you want now. That's what we get to do. It's really fun.
If the truth is that Nick Mullins is a better quarterback by having 414 yards compared to Russell's 185, I don't want to live in that truth.
That can be truth for Richard Sherman. It just happens to not be truth for me. And we can agree to agree that there's all sorts of truth out there now. So, like, yeah, apparently you can just think whatever you want. And Richard he seems to think that he's doing better over there in San Francisco at 2-9 with Nick Mullins, or 2-10. So, enjoy, dude. I hope you're having a good time. Did he get booed, or what was the reception like?
Okay, so with Sherman, I would say, that you had the moment where the 49ers come out of the tunnel and there was a little bit of boos.
Yeah.
The crowd, they mentioned it on TV, how the crowd wasn't really all that into it. And I think that was because the Seahawks got up so quickly, and it was 13-0, then 20-0. So there weren't really that many opportunities for the crowd to be
crank it up.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I mean, it was kind of a boring game.
When you know the outcome of that game, like, I thought I'd have fun going back and watching through this game.
No.
I had a hard time.
I'm not going to lie. I didn't even rewatch it. In the fourth quarter, like when B-Wags intercepted that football, I had just put gas in the Jeep, and I was starting my drive home. Like, the game wasn't even over. And I was in the gas station, and some dude saw my Seahawks hoodie. He had a Seahawks hat on. Mm-hmm. It's like, dude, B-Wags just ran one back 98 yards. And I was like, what? When I got out of the car, the Niners were knocking on the door. Like, that's how I found out about that. I mean, at that point, like, cool. You thump the hell out of a terrible football team that's down to their third string quarterback. Neat. Okay, what's next?
What's next is trying to get to the bottom of Russell Wilson and whether or not he threw dude's shoe and caused the 49ers to get a penalty by trying to get somebody on the field to replace the shoeless 49er. And Russell ended up getting the ball snapped before the guy got back onside. It got the 49ers coach so fired up afterward that it caused another 15-yard unsportsmanlike on Shanahan.
So here's the thing. There's no video evidence that has been presented yet. On the TV copy, you can't see it on the All 22 that they've released too. So we have no video proof of it yet.
Yeah.
But I believe this to be true because I don't think that Kyle Shanahan will go out there and just make that up. That doesn't seem like him, right? And then you never heard any sort of denial from Russell since. And also, if you think about it, everybody talks about how goody two-shoes Russ is until he steps between the lines, and then he's kind of an assassin. There's no rule against throwing the shoe, and then there's no rule against going and running hurry up. Like, to me, that's a guy who's always trying to cut your throat at any given chance. Like, he's the guy, if you're playing cutthroat, like anything, whether that be cribbage, anything like that, he ain't letting up on nothing. He's screwing you over every chance he gets. And I think he took advantage of it. And I think it's hilarious.
What is he supposed to do? Because I remember a point in the game where I see a shoe in the backfield behind the offense, whether or not he was, if he innocently picked it up and just tossed it toward the sideline, or if he to get it out of the way, or I mean, what are you supposed to do? Give the guy his shoe, wait for him to tie it?
Well, wouldn't the answer be like do nothing with it and just go hurry up anyway, right? Like, I mean, if you had a real problem with a shoe toss.
Well, I think it's like having a towel on the field. You pick those things up to
kind of toss it aside.
Throw it out. You see refs do it with the towels.
Players do that all the time.
It falls off and they toss it toward the sideline.
I don't think Russ was being cutthroat, man, and it's great.
I wish there was a video of it just so I could see because if it is awesome, like we need to see how awesome it is.
Yeah, exactly. Like I want him to like kind of stare Shanahan down and kind of be like, whoop, and then throw it like just like your defiant 3-year-old when you tell them not to do something and they just never break eye contact with you and do it anyways. Like I want it to be like that.
Like the linebacker's coming to pick up his shoe and Russell throws it away farther, so he has to go running. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like you did to your little sisters growing up or younger siblings. Yeah.
Well, the better part would have been then to throw it toward the Seahawks sideline and make him run even farther. But
well, I think he did make him run a little farther.
Okay.
Was the deal. But he threw it like upfield or something. I'm not sure.
This is why we need video.
Yep. So that's probably the third most interesting thing from this game. First being Bobby Wagner just owning the game. Russell Wilson then co-signing on that. And then Shoegate.
Yeah, 12.
Oh, and then fourth would probably be Sad Sherm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and you asked if that he got any boos. Really, the only opportunity to where it showed him up on the big screen was when he was jawing at the officials. And, he was
that was funny.
He was so animate about it. And, his head bobbing up and down, that's when the boos came out. I think it was more of any player who would have been going at the officials like that in that moment would have gotten a boo from the Seattle crowd.
And he was clearly wrong in the situation. That was the funny part.
What was that?
I want to say it was a PI call.
Yeah.
I just remember at the time, like seeing it and being like, why are you arguing so hard for this? Are you mad, bro?
Competing.
Yeah.
Bobby Wagner, though, holy smokes. I mean, the stat line, 12 tackles combined, 1 sack, 2 tackles for a loss, 1 interception, 2 passes defended. Oh, and his fumble recovery, or where he just stripped the dude going down to the ground. And yeah. I think Bobby Wagner sold that play awfully well. And fortunately, it made it so that way the refs called it as a fumble recovery for the Seahawks.
Right.
And then when you went back and reviewed it, you go, you can't really tell.
Guess you have to go with the call on the field. Yeah, good acting skills there, no doubt.
I thought for sure that one was going to come back. How did the Rabel call sound on that?
Tight slot. Now Pettis moves from right to left. The turn, hand to Wilson Jr. Looks for running room. He's got a big gap, and he's all the way down to the 5-yard line. The Seahawks say they've got the ball. The ball is out. It's picked up coming near side. Trying to turn back inside is Bobby Wagner. Out to the 12, out to the 13.
Wow, the officials did not blow that dead.
They did not. It looked like everybody was down, but no official. I did not hear a whistle, and all of a sudden Bobby Wagner came out of the pile with the football.
They were surprised by it as well. Let's put it that way.
Right.
But they did turn over the 49ers multiple times throughout the game, and that's been a key to this season all the way through with the Seahawks. Hold on to the football, turn the other team over, and it's going to play a big part in this game coming up against the Vikings, I think.
Yeah, 3 turnovers on the day. You had the interception from Mullins. You had the fumble recovery, or the strip, and then you had the fumble, the punt return.
That's a big part of their defensive game plan at this point, because they certainly are bend but don't break. I mean, as hard as that is to watch, just watching receivers run free is a little difficult to watch. But I wonder if that's a little bit of a circumstance. I don't know if it seemed this way from the stands for you, Brandon, but it seemed as if the Seahawks blitzed a lot more to try to get pressure. And maybe that is resulted in a lot more open space for guys to kind of roam.
On his 52 dropbacks, Seahawks only blitzed 12 times. And so he was 6 of 10 for 62 yards, sacked twice. One of those I know was the Bobby Wagner blitz early on in the game. Yeah. And he had pretty decent numbers when they blitzed him, 1 touchdown and just the 2 sacks. So in terms of his quarterback rating, he was 123.2 with no pressure. When blitzed, he was 111.3.
Yeah, so he hung in there. That's why I was just wondering if maybe with the blitz that opened things up a little bit for the receivers down the field, including that Pettis kid, who I guess is out of UW, huh?
Yeah, and the 75-yard touchdown. What I saw on that play were Seahawks tackling each other rather than Pettis. They took out their own dudes.
Yeah, it was difficult to watch the tackling. So, I mean, there's things that can be cleaned up, and they're going to need to, because you can't tackle like that against the Vikings receivers and expect to get away with it.
Before we do go out, I do want to cover just a few of the top guys on defense. We gave a lot of credit to Bobby Wagner, but how about Poona Ford in this game? Dude was showing up early on, tackling guys behind the line of scrimmage, 4 tackles on the game, 4 stops. So I think those were tackles behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, is that somebody who stood out to you? Not somebody that necessarily stood out to me, but I suppose he had a good game. I wish I could back you up on that one. I don't know. I was just not a guy that really stood out to me.
Yeah. He jumped out to me. Austin Calitro was the other guy that jumped out a little bit.
Yeah, I thought his play was very solid, a little better than it had been in the past. But, yeah, I mean, the linebackers as a whole, I mean, buoyed by Bobby. I mean, heck, they were amazing.
Jaron Reed had 9 pressures. 9 of the 27 pressures came from Jaron Reed.
Looking for him. He's actually, picked up his pass rush, I think, a little bit this year. It's good to see that come along.
Well, I know you want to talk about this Vikings game. So what do you say we move on to the Seahawks and Vikings? Because I know that there's only one thing that matters more to you than traveling on an airplane. And that's what uniform color the Seahawks are wearing going into a game.
Oh, my God. Well, this actually matters.
Traveling doesn't. That makes no impact, has no impact on outcomes of games.
No, I can't pin travel on specific career-ending injuries like I can these heinous, disgusting abominations to the human eye that these action green uniforms are. Gross.
Why are you tying the uniform color to career-ending injuries?
To the end of the LOB? It
was one game.
Why would I? Why?
It's one game.
Yeah. We on average, we lose a future Hall of Famer forever when we wear those uniforms.
On average, because they've worn it twice. They're 2-0 in these games, and we've lost math, 2 Brandon. In one game.
It's math. Just because it happened to be in the one game doesn't make it any better.
It just helps it average out to fit your argument a little bit better.
Fine. All right. In one game, they lost 0 Hall of Famers. And in the second game, the last time we wore them, we lost 2.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. I don't care how you say it. Why on God's green earth would you ever want to see these atrocities ever again?
We're 2-0. We're 2-0. And
I would much rather trade those 2 victories in for Cam and Sherman back.
I'm totally on board with this because apparently the Arizona Cardinals Stadium was built on an Indian burial ground. So I feel like that has more to do with it than the uniform color.
Look, I'm not saying that that debacle of a stadium down there in Arizona doesn't carry part of the blame here. But that's just half of the reason why I hate these jerseys so much. They're disgusting.
Yeah, you spent your entire Tuesday, I think, writing up a petition to try.
I spent 30 minutes out of my Tuesday writing up a petition. That was great. And
30 minutes you could have been spending rewatching the 49ers game.
Why? I know what happened. We smoked them, and we wore good-looking jerseys. I know what happened.
Yeah.
These things are disgusting. Say it with me, Brandon. Accent colors are not your main color. You can't do it. It's gross. What I'm really bummed out about is how many people
you're in the minority on this.
Look, Brandon, not all heroes are popular, Brandon. Look at Aquaman. Everyone hates Aquaman. Okay.
Until they made him good looking.
Yeah, they still hate him.
My wife's like, I really want to go see that Aquaman movie.
Oh, sure.
Sure you do.
Exactly. Not every hero's popular. And I may not be popular on this, but it's fine. I'm just coming to realize that maybe we're the tacky fans. Maybe that's who we are.
Maybe
we're just the tacky ones.
That's fine.
Like that one relative that always comes to, the public events, family public events, and they're dressed, in leopard skin. They're like, what? It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. If maybe a little bit of leopard skin, not all of it head to toe. Action green head to toe.
It's a little overboard for you.
The second leading cause of eye bleeding right behind Ebola. Because it's just as bad for your eyes as Ebola is.
I got to say your stats sound a little bit made up. But I'm going to...
Truth isn't truth, Brandon.
We go with it. I think we covered that already.
That's why I'm on the Richard Sherman part. They're just gross.
Hey.
That's fine. And for the people who try to say, well, it'd be fine if we combined it with the blue pants. That makes it worse. Whoever you are right now, take your headphones off, go look in a mirror, and slap yourself. You need it. Okay, done. I'm really glad Michael Kendricks is coming back.
I'm glad Kendricks is coming back, too. This is a good thing for the Seahawks, especially with KJ not looking like he's going to come back anytime soon.
Well, definitely not this week. It sounds like he's on to conditioning. Pete said he's going to start running more. That seems encouraging. The rehab right after the special secret robot knee replacement or whatever it is that happened to him. The rehab after that's been good. It's
pretty cool that we just can't talk about. It's like hush hush on the down low with a lot of this kind of treatment stuff.
I don't know what secret sauce that they're implanting into our athletes, but apparently it's not FDA approved.
Maybe that makes sense. But Kendricks is coming back to join Bobby Wagner, who was announced as Defensive Player of the Week. Not real surprising there. And they get to go up against a Vikings team that really wants to be a running team, but is not a running team. Ranked number 30 in the NFL this year, which was a huge surprise to me when I pulled up that stat, with Dalvin Cook being on the roster, with their
success last year running the ball.
His success, they did have success last year running the ball. Latavius Murray still on the team. So when you have those two guys and you have a coach like Mike Zimmer who wants to run the football, he's really similar to Pete Carroll, defensive minded coach and wants to run the football. They're just not doing it. 86.1 yards per game compared to Seattle's 148.8, which is leading the league.
Well, the interesting thing is in the last game against the Patriots, they actually early on in the game ran the ball with a lot of success. Dalvin Cook had like a big first few carries, and then they completely abandoned it. And apparently Mike Zimmer none too pleased about that. So I kind of look for this Vikings team to come out here and really try to pound the rock, which fine by me. Work away from your strengths, which are those wideouts, and try to play smash mouth football behind an offensive line that's regressed.
That offensive line for Minnesota really has been the liability for them. Mike Remmers at guard. He's been the guy giving up the most pressures of anybody on the team, the most sacks. Mm-hmm. And that's the guy at right guard. So now is that going to be Jaron Reed's side, or is that going to be, who are they? Is that going to be where Poona Ford usually lines up? Because I feel like he's going to be in the starting lineup now.
I could see a lot of stunts and stuff being ran
to that direction.
Towards that direction. And, just try to put him in a bind as often as possible. Really, I mean, the whole line hasn't played great as a whole. So I think you can kind of attack any which way.
Well, and a big part of that is because you see Minnesota getting into those third and longs a lot because they've had little success running the football. You said that they started out having success for it, but they don't go away from it because they don't have success. It's just that they have a couple downs where they don't get very far, and then they end up getting in those 3rd and 10 situations, and they haven't been able to. The line hasn't been able to hold up well enough to give Cousins enough time to throw it down the field.
Who is a mistake-prone quarterback when you get a little bit of pressure on him.
But boy, can he launch it down the field when you give him time.
Yeah, he's got a decent arm. I mean, he's out of the middle-tier quarterbacks, he's one of the better of the middle-tier quarterbacks.
He's got the longest pass completion of the year through the air this year.
Well, neat. I remember when everybody lost their mind when Mahomes threw it like a zillion yards.
Yeah.
In the air.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it doesn't help you any if you can't give him time to throw.
The idea here is that Diggs and Thielen could sit and just chew you up underneath all day long. You precise route runners, really good after the catch, solid hands. It sounded like Diggs is a little dinged up, and I'm really hoping that's the case, not because I hope a guy is hurt and he doesn't feel good, but just because we could use every little advantage we can get against their passing game. They're exceptional.
Holy smokes, is Thielen tearing it up this year?
The one guy that there's been kind of a disappointment for them is Treadwell. I mean, he was an early round pick and has never really lived up to his billing. But, I mean, there's not many wideouts in the league where you look at 1-2 and find a better pair somewhere in the league. I mean, they're the straw that stirs the drink for this Minnesota Vikings offense. And it's really this matchup, our defense versus their offense, to me, which is the interesting part of this game, because I really feel like when you look at their defense, there's really not a lot of weak links. Look at our offense, there's really not a lot of weak links. They know what they want to do. We know what we want to do. I can't see us scoring a lot more than, say, 24, 27 points. Like, that'd be a big day, I think, for the offense.
The Vikings defense, they're one that you looked at going into the season and expecting them to really be one of the top defenses in the league, especially with the guys that they have up front, like Danielle Hunter. Sheldon Richardson went there, and he's actually performing well for them where he didn't perform all that great for us. That defense is what scares me, but they haven't been all that consistent.
Well, I would ask you a quick question, too. Like, you see this billing, and you see people talk about it. And if you were to compare the Seahawks defense to the Vikings defense, who would you say is the better defense?
On paper, I would say the Vikings, because you have Xavier Rhodes, you have Danielle Hunter, you have Sheldon Richardson, you have the safety on the back end, Smith.
You have the Sebastian Thunderbucket.
He went back there.
You know, like you got a bunch of dudes, right?
They have a ton of big names.
Harrison Smith is a hell of a player.
You know, because everybody always talks about how Harrison Smith is so much better than Earl Thomas.
People said that?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't even need to entertain that, but it's funny because you look at all those names, right? And you look at all the big names that were lost on Seattle's defense. And then if you look at, just what they rate total defense at, which is yards, the Vikings are rated 6th and the Seahawks 19th. Guess whose number, if you were to look at this maybe in just a little different way, guess which team is better at not giving up points?
And I would say that has been the Seahawks, because the Seahawks have been top 10 this year in keeping opponents. They're tied for 9th now.
Tied for 9th with the New England Patriots.
And points is what matters.
Yeah, it turns out.
We've talked about this. They don't measure the wins in yards. They measure them in points at the end of the game.
So I think this is a very even matchup that way when you look at, the strength of both defenses. And then you look at the offenses, and I kind of like Seattle's offense a little better than I do Minnesota's. I know what I'm getting. Like, I don't care how good your players are. If the Seahawks come out and actually pound the football with Chris Carson, which they've done against anybody they've wanted to, except for maybe the Panthers. That might be the one that. But the thing is they were like, all right, fine, you're going to take that away. We'll just start dropping bombs on you. Yeah. So that's what they did, and that's just it. Like I don't care how star-studded your defense is, but if you have to sell out that much to stop the run, then Russell Wilson will eat your lunch.
They're number 6 in the league right now in terms of passing stats, yards, 276 yards per game. Seattle 26th in the league at their defense giving up passing yards. But I feel like Mike Zimmer is so committed to the run now at trying to become a running team that it might be a little bit of a deficiency. And how much were Seahawks fans? You and I, we talked about John DeFilippo from the Eagles last year, him being this offensive coordinator prospect that we were really interested in. Well, now that he's gone to the Vikings, you listen to Vikings fan, and they're not completely sold on him.
He didn't ink Kirk Cousins to a mega contract.
No,
you know what I mean? Like I have a hard time blaming him at that point, but. With all that said, I don't have a great feeling going into this game. All the press, everybody, patting Seattle on the back. It's prime time. We never get beaten prime time. We're at home. The Vikings stink now. We're 2-0 in the action green jerseys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's all stacking up against. Well, there's a couple things that I look at to where it does go the Seahawks way. In terms of red zone scoring, Seattle's top 10, Minnesota is in the bottom 3rd. And I think playing at home versus on the road, putting up 28 points per game, they've got a pretty good record at home. They're 4-3 on the road. They have a pretty good road record this year too. But Minnesota, they're actually putting up more points on the road than they are at home, but they're 2-3-1. On their road record. They're putting up about 25 points on the road.
Well, I think the biggest problem for them is that they're mistake prone.
Yeah.
They are twice as likely to give up the football, whether that's through an interception or a fumble, than the Seahawks are. I mean, I think as cliche as it is, turnovers are going to be huge in this game. I mean, this is the way the defense has played, and I think this is what the Seahawks have finally just decided that they're going to do in this day and age of video game football. All right, fine. In between the 20s, you want to spread us out, air it out, create all this space, go up and down the field like it's a track meet. Have at it, Haas. We'll let you do that all day. And once you do get down into the red zone, when the field compresses, and you don't have that space to operate in, we're going to thump you and we're going to turn you over. And that's defense in today's day and age, and that's what the Seahawks are doing.
And even if they make a mistake, trying to throw it over the middle, or they have their opportunities to punch the ball out, you see Trey Flowers starting to go for that a little bit more. The defense is trying to create those turnovers. You see them getting their hands up. I don't know how many batted passes they had in this last game against the 49ers, but they're doing a good job at getting up when the quarterback looks like he's going to throw, and it's working out for them because it's holding them to fewer points. They're able to hold their opponents to field goals instead of touchdowns inside the red zone, and that makes a big difference too.
Or turn them over. I mean, just like Nick Mullins takes them all the way down the field and then Bobby picks it off.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen a lot of that. I mean, last game, Cam gets him all the way down the field. McDougal picks him off.
It seems like a hard thing to count on. Everybody talks about, is Russell Wilson, throwing those last second touchdowns. Is that sustainable? Is it sustainable if you're counting on your defense to get turnovers inside the red zone? Maybe.
I'm not sure that it is. I don't think it is. But again, I think in this day and age of offensive football, the rules the way it is, that's defense now. That's the best you can hope to be. And I ask you this, do you think the decline in the Seahawks tackling over the last couple games, that seems to be inverse to the extra attention put on creating turnovers? Do you think they're going after the ball so hard that it's now affected the tackling?
If it has, the turnovers have made more of a difference than the missed tackles.
Right.
So do you complain?
I don't know. Like, this is a really interesting year watching the defensive side of the ball around the league. I'm not just talking the Seahawks. Adjust and trying to catch up and try to figure out a style of play that works. And I think that's what the Seahawks are hanging their hat on right now, is just being that team that turns you over 2 to 3 times and don't turn the ball over yourself.
Yeah.
I know that's boring, but it does feel that way.
Hey, winning football isn't boring.
No, having an amazing chance like this game right here, they win this one. You basically, it's a cakewalk to the playoffs.
And I want to talk about playoffs, but I also want to talk about the opponents that the Vikings have played, because a lot of times we look at it and you say, well, who have they really beat? And you can kind of say that about this Vikings team.
Really?
In terms of their
I haven't gone down their schedule.
In terms of their home wins, it's been an 8-point win over San Fran. And that was week 1. That was still with Jimmy G. So they got that win at home. They beat Arizona at home. They beat Detroit, and they beat Green Bay. And the only game that was more than 10 points in terms of victory was that game against Detroit. Their 2 home losses were to Buffalo and to New Orleans.
Yeah.
And so you look on the road and you say, well, who have they beat on the road? Well, they beat in week 5, they beat Philly. In week 7, they beat the Jets, and they tied at Green Bay in week 2. Their road losses have been the Rams, the Bears, and this recent loss to the Patriots. So they're losing against the good teams, and they're beating the bad teams.
Right. Some of those games, though, at that point during the season, like you mentioned, the Niners in week 1, that was billed as a big game.
Yeah.
And then you look at, the meetings with the Packers, those were big games. I mean, the Packers were playing well early in the season.
Yeah, and that was when they got the tie was week 2,
yeah.
And then they played them just after we did when they got their 24-17 win.
The Saints exacted the revenge on them, though. They weren't excited about the Minnesota Miracle.
No, they came into their building and took care of business for that game.
And I think when they played Philly wasn't as banged up as it is now, right?
Yeah, it was week 5. So you can count that as a quality.
Well, or was Foles still starting at that point? Yeah, I think Foles was still starting at that point. The bloom was off the Foles. Yeah, they're not the juggernaut that many thought they'd be coming in this year. I thought they'd be better than they are.
I thought they'd be a shoo-in for the playoffs, and if they don't win this game, they're not going.
Yeah.
I mean, they could, but
it's looking bleak.
Looking at the playoff odds, Rams and Saints are locked in. Bears are pretty close to a lock. They're at 96%. I think they're most likely to win their division. I mean, they would have to tank, and Minnesota would have to take off. So,
yeah.
According to Football Outsiders, the Seahawks have a 92% chance to secure a wild card spot.
Yeah, it was like 20% like 3 weeks ago. So who the hell knows?
Well, they've been on a 3-game winning streak. It makes a big difference.
These probability people, like they try to like sound like what they do is like sciencey and mathy, and really amazing. I can tell you what the odds are for the Seahawks to make the playoffs. 50-50. They'll either make it or they won't.
That's one way to look at it.
Everything in life is 50-50.
Everything?
Everything. Like, either we'll finish a show or we won't.
It may go on forever.
Like the odds are that we do this entire show are 50-50.
I think it's 100% that it gets finished eventually.
Yeah, it's still 50-50.
The other teams in the playoff race, you have Dallas. Football Outsiders ranks them at 79%. And then they're fighting with Philly, who's at 27%. Minnesota at 58%.
Hold on.
Yeah.
How are the odds for the Seahawks better, who are not even going to win their division? How is it better, their odds, than Dallas, who's threatening them in that division?
Philly.
The NFC East.
Philly is the only one. Well, technically, okay, here's the top teams in terms of percentage. Seahawks at 92, Dallas at 79, Minnesota 58, Philly 27, Carolina 22, and Washington at 18%. So I'm guessing with Dallas, they're looking and saying, based on the win totals for teams like Philly and Washington, they still have the ability to catch Dallas.
Okay, then. That ain't happening.
Well, Philly, if they get the win against Dallas this weekend, that's going to be a big swing.
Yeah, I mean, it would be. And I said it on the pick show, like, I don't trust Jason Garrett in particular in that game, but, we'll see. I don't know. I just find it interesting that the Seahawks odds were higher than Dallas.
Dallas, right.
Dallas is in total control of their own destiny in terms of winning the division. So
it is kind of funny.
Yeah. They'll either make it or they won't.
I like the Seahawks shot of making it, though.
Yeah, it's right there. Right there for the taking. I mean, I'm not conceding the Chiefs game yet either.
I like watching Seahawks football in December.
Hell yeah, man. I mean, because you got Captain December as your quarterback.
Yeah, are we going to come up? Is there going to be a cool nickname for Russell Wilson based on his December performances? Reggie Jackson was Mr. October. Do you go with Mr.? Right. Do you go with Captain? Do you go with General?
I think anytime you can go with Captain, you go with Captain.
Yeah.
I mean, General's better than Captain, supposedly, right?
Usually.
Well, it's higher ranking. I don't know if it's better. Like, you got more responsibility as a general.
Admiral December.
Yeah, I think there's only one admiral, and that's David Robinson. I don't know if you can call anybody else the admiral of anything.
Well, there's probably plenty of captains.
Yeah. I don't know.
Definitely lots of misters.
Yeah, true. I don't know.
Emperor December.
Ooh. I kind of like that. I love the idea of supreme ruling,
Yeah.
I like that.
There's a little bit of darkness
God. Yeah.
To it.
Yeah, you could throw your shoe at any point.
Emperor December. I think we've got it.
That'd be cool if that stuck. I did see, who was it in the Ring of Honor that was at the Niners Seahawks game, and they were doing a Sebastian Janikowski impersonation of his walk.
That was David Van Cleve and Floctimus Prime.
Yes, okay, I thought it was. And when did Seabass turn into an emperor penguin? That's what I want to know.
Well, it started with Clinton Bonner, on 3 and 3 out.
Yeah, that's a mosey. Clinton's got the mosey, right? But they were doing it more like the penguin from Batman.
You have about 1.5 feet of space to do your walk in with. They were in the very last row of the stadium up in the nosebleeds.
True fact. So true fact. Okay.
Yeah, imagine Sebastian Janikowski walking on a tightrope, and that's what it looks like.
Okay.
Do you have anything else you want to say about the Vikings?
Catfish!
For those guys? I don't know. I hope they lose. I hope that those action green uniforms blind them and they're not unable to perform.
Hey, it's worked so far. Hey, we got to get the entire stadium wearing action green too.
No.
Oh, that'd be brighter than the lights.
Oh, God.
It'd be amazing.
More isn't always better, man.
Could you imagine, in college stadiums, they try and do the whiteouts or the blackouts.
Yeah. A neon
green out.
That's gross.
I'm telling you, that could be wild seeing that on TV.
That's a
Everybody's
fashion
trying
dome.
to adjust their tint.
Oh my God. That probably would screw with like TVs everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know how you deal with the white balance of that.
It'd be amazing.
I don't know. If it screws with my ability to watch a game, I'm going to be really pissed.
Well, what do you say we get into our Pick'em League champs this week?
Yeah. Who we got? I know we had some first-time winners ever in their lives.
Yeah. Well, we got 4 people who finished with 12 correct, 4 wrong this last week. Number 1 was Mrs. Doug Baldwin. Got the tiebreaker over the other 3. Yeah, Annalisa from New York getting the win.
That was fun to see. I really enjoyed her Facebook post where she said something to the effect of like, I have to deal with all of you like putting up crap about Doctor Who and Game of Thrones and crap, and I don't care about any of that. So I'm going to put this up here, and you got to pretend to care about this like I pretend to care about your crap. But I won something. I loved it. I thought that was really funny. That was paraphrasing, of course. She says it much more eloquently. But
you caught the subtext.
Yes, exactly. And it was, suck it, y'all, I won.
Less is more. Lord of the Mingos and Hustle Wilson also got 12 right. But it was Annalisa who got the tiebreaker. And a slew of people at 11 points.
Yeah, that I would have been among them.
You were probably in there somewhere.
I was
just one behind. We're hanging in there together.
Am I only ahead of you overall by like 1 pick?
1 pick.
It's coming down to the wire.
I know. I don't know how different we were either on this last pick show.
Can't remember.
Different enough.
I think I even chose your risk pick even though I didn't have to.
No.
I'd already picked my regular risk pick.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how good your risk pick was.
It was so good. Looking at the full leaderboard for that Russell Wilson signed art print at the end of the year, Jermaine Olay hanging on to the top spot, 133 picks correct. Toon Hawk right behind at number 2 with 132. Then you have 12th Hawker Locker at 131, Jesper Sacco in 4th place, and then you got 3 people tied at number 5, Seagal 1212, Barb's 44, and D Weezy.
Dang, man. This is a tight year.
Yeah.
We had people run away like a couple years ago. Like,
part of it is a function of the different style of scoring, because remember with NFL.com, you had the bonus. You know, if you got 10 right, then you got into the bonus.
Right.
And so now it's going straight picks, and it's keeping it closer.
It is. Makes it interesting.
Well, we got a couple new items to throw into for the Pick'em League winners. Daniel in Post Falls, the 12th Dan. Yeah, he works at Buck Knives. He's sending 2 knives for prizes this year.
Oh, shoot. I didn't realize it was 2.
One of them is a Buck Knives custom 722 Spitfire. And this is super cool. It has a green blade, like a neon greenish blade with a blue handle.
What?
Yeah. Buck Knives is doing custom colors now for knives this year, and so he donated one with Seahawks colors.
That's friggin' dope.
And then he's also donating one of their famous 110 folding hunter knives.
Oh, those are nice. I actually have one of those. Buck knife.
I think everybody does in Montana. Almost.
Well, you have to. They're almost the gold standard of knives, man.
Right.
Like, they're a hell of a company. And not only that, but making Seahawks colored. I want that bad. How is that getting distributed?
That goes to the champ.
Who do I need to shank with a regular colored knife to get that knife?
Well, right now it's Jermaine Olay, but it could change by the end of the year.
Watch your 6, dude. Coming for you.
Well, people who are safe are members of the flock.
Oh, absolutely. I could never harm a member of a flock unless they had something I wanted, and then I would totally harm them.
David Van Cleve came in this week with a donation of $145.44, which is 12 months of 1212.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah.
So he's just re-upped all the way for the year to be in the Ring of Honor with the coolest group of Seahawks fans you've ever met.
Oh, it's not for him either. He says in a note here, he says, I just sent you payment for a gift of 1 year of Ring of Honor membership to my friend, Dawn Wilson. She's on her own after that. Had a great time at the game this weekend. Maybe, just maybe, a little too much. Thanks for bringing us all together, from Dave.
Awesome. I wish I could have been there to hang out. But we welcome Dawn into the Ring of Honor. She seems to be fitting in nicely right out of the gate.
Yeah, and she's there for the next year. So see, it is Christmas holiday season. Yeah. Give the gift of Flock membership.
Witty banter and good friends and companionship on the Ring of Honor page.
Seth Marta is in via PayPal. I remember he was over at Patreon, so he must have switched over. He's in at $12.12. Got Randall Puterbaugh, RJ's brother Randall, who I met out in Seattle. He's in at $5. So welcome to the flock, Randall.
Okay, when I first saw that, I thought maybe RJ was just inventing another Puterbaugh, so like he could have like multiple personalities in the Ring of Honor.
No,
but it is indeed his brother.
Yeah, his younger brother Randall.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, those guys were fun to hang out with. We went to the Pike Pub on Saturday night, and RJ and Randall were there. Jake Burdine was there. Lisa Carlson and her husband Greg were there. And Tracy came. Tracy Williams of the Military Seahawks.
Yeah. Nice.
So we had a good
that's
crew.
Quite the crew.
Yeah, it was fun. Also into the flock, Richard Joseph, Gerald Rousseau in at $5.
Holy crap. I didn't know there was more.
Yeah. Well, I'm not done.
What? That's awesome.
We got Sandy Chattalevada in at $5. Chattalevada, probably a soft A. Sandy, welcome to the flock.
Yeah, welcome, Sandy, and thanks for making Brandon try to attempt that last name. I enjoyed that very much. Welcome to the flock.
John Fremont, I know that one. In for $1. Welcome to the flock, John.
Yeah, man. Enjoy the bonus shows when we get to them. That's great. And the stickers, we're still sending out stickers, right?
Yeah, I have a whole pile of things. I have prizes and stickers. Yeah. I'm about 2 months behind on patches, I think, and I think just a month behind on stickers. So,
well, in your defense, it's been busy in the sense that, like, just even today, like the plumber was in and out of your house like 5 different times. And no, that's not a euphemism for anything. He literally was there. And,
it was a literal plumber and literally in and out of my house.
In your pipes. And just...
my pipes. I literally got my pipes cleaned by the plumber.
Right. And so this show has been recorded in about 5 different settings. Like, sitting down. Yeah.
So...
And you can probably tell because at different points I was grumpier than others.
Be like, wow, Adam is really schizophrenic today.
Yeah. This is the roller coaster of emotions.
Last one in, Radu Margarant. In for $1 a month via Patreon, and he's donated in the past too. I think he's also a member of our Ring of Honor.
Yeah, man. Well, after last week getting skunked, I was feeling a little down.
It's a good week.
Talk about the emotional roller coaster, and look at you guys, man. Like, you little flockers never cease to amaze.
And if you want to get in the flock, getintheflock.com or go to seahawkerspodcast.com/support. And help us out there. We've always mentioned reviews as well. We got 2 new reviews in this last week.
Oh, cool.
First one here from T. Gorder, said recently started listening. And I'm loving the show. These guys are great. As a broke college student, go Knights. Figured I'd leave a review to show my support. Keep it up.
Nice. There you go. See, I appreciate the effort. I understand being broke. I get it. I've been there. I was buying beer with the change out of my couch cushions, so that doesn't cost you a dime to write a review. I'm glad you're enjoying, man.
That reminds me, Randall, when he introduced himself at the Pike Pub on Saturday, he introduced himself as a freeloader.
He belongs, man. Randall belongs immediately in the Ring of Honor, I can tell you. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Rick A. Griffith comes in with a review as well, says, great podcast. Thanks for this podcast every week. Always gets me excited for game day. I'm a diehard fan in Arizona. It's great to get some Seahawks coverage outside the uninformed national media on a weekly basis. Keep it up.
And thanks, man. We've totally vow to keep it up. The days might switch around a little bit. We may have to do it in 17 different chunks, but we'll get it out. We'll get it out each and every week. We do it.
We will get it done. We're determined that way.
Yeah. 6 years. I think that's consistent enough.
Yeah, this is the end of the 6th season coming up on it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy to think that we're going into the 4th quarter of this season.
How has it gone by that fast? And when you consider preseason?
I know.
That we've already done 16 games?
It's insane to think about.
What's going on? How does this go by so fast?
we're old?
You know what they need? I think the NFL should consider, what if you had a game every 2 weeks? Like, would that just seem way too long to go between games? Or would it balance itself out by having a longer NFL season?
I think what you'll have to do is just get into the Seattle XFL team.
That's right. They said that there's an XFL team coming to Seattle.
Yeah, they're handing out teams like candy in Seattle right now. When's the NBA team coming? When are the Sonics coming back? They got the hockey team. They got XFL. Yeah, let's bring back the NBA too. Let's do it all in a week.
I can't see myself watching a lot of XFL.
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
Is it going to be in the spring?
I think we have to wait until 2020 to find out when it is.
That's a long time to wait. What do they think they are? Game of Thrones?
Yeah, we're just going to announce it now, and you have to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, the NHL team isn't starting until 2021.
I don't know.
Maybe they'll have basketball before those other two things happen.
There's a possibility for that. Yeah, it's quite possible.
All right, Adam. Well, we are going to be thanking some more members of our flock at the end of the show because it is the first of the month. But before we get to that, let's get into some do better and better at life.
All right, Brandon, my do better this week. You think it'd be for ugly uniforms or not? My do better this week is for the Green Bay Packers.
Really?
Yeah, they fired Coach McCarthy, which that's fine. Like, I mean, that probably needed to happen. And, every so often you need to change and maybe bring in better leadership or just different leadership to kind of, bring the ship together and hopefully go on a run if you're a Packers fan, right? Well, he's not the only coach to be let go here by the Green Bay Packers this week. They also fire associate head coach, linebackers coach, Winston Moss. You know why they fired him, Brandon?
No.
Over a tweet.
What?
Say it with me, everybody. If it happens on Twitter, it doesn't matter. Like, it just doesn't matter. But this is what he posts on Twitter. And riddle me this. What part of this is controversial and terrible? This is what he says on Twitter, quote, "Ponder this. What championship teams have are great leadership, period. It's not the offensive guru trend. It's not the safe trend. Find somebody that is going to hold number 12 and everybody in this building to a Lombardi standard, period. #, losing sucks." Now, what part of that is controversial? Because apparently that was so controversial, pointing out that great leadership leads to organizations that do well over time. By pointing that out, he was then canned by Coach Joe Philbin.
Was he taking a shot at organizational leadership?
No, I mean, he's just saying that he wants them to find somebody that is going to hold number 12 and everybody in this building to # Lombardi standard.
It's all about the # Lombardi standard.
Yeah. So I don't understand what part of that is controversial. You just made a grown man lose his job over that by pointing out the obvious. Green Bay Packers, do better.
Yeah, I don't like them treating one of our former Seahawks that
coaches.
Way.
I know.
Yeah, he was a quality control coach for the Seahawks after he finished up playing from 95-97. And yeah, has moved all the way up to assistant head coach and linebackers coach for the Packers.
Yeah. Can you imagine, like, the only thing I can figure is because he says hold number 12 accountable, that ruffled Precious Aaron's feathers.
Yeah, from some of the articles I seem to be reading, it seems that they're taking it as a criticism of Aaron Rodgers.
Well, even if it is, can you imagine if...
Although he says number 12 in everybody in this building.
Can you imagine if, like, the equipment manager, Eric Kennedy, put out a tweet like this, like, about Russell Wilson and the organization? Can you imagine, like, Russ being so thin-skinned that he'd want that dude gone? Or need to be protected so much that dude would have to be gone? I can't see that.
I think it's because he used the word sucks. Like, I tell my kids not to say sucks.
Why?
Because it sucks.
Does it? It's not a curse word. I've never understood the people's problem with using the word sucks.
You can't say it at school, so it's just kind of...
You can't?
I don't think so. My kids are in grade school, dude.
That's exactly when you use the word sucks, because you can't use any of the other ones. This is communist Kalispell now.
Hey, maybe the Packers are communist.
Apparently. No, they're ruled by, well, they could be, I guess. They're ruled by a tyrant of a dictator with number 12 on his chest.
Yeah.
He's a little sensitive.
I think after Aaron Rodgers saw this, he went to the organization and he said, you have to get rid of Winston Moss.
That'd be my guess.
I don't know if there's any other answer.
That whole organization being held hostage by Aaron Rodgers.
You know, linebackers are just cool dudes that tell the truth a lot. Usually,
yeah.
I would want a team of coaches that are linebackers. Like you think of Mike Singletary, you think of Ken Norton Jr. You had the dude who coached the Raiders for a while, right?
Del Rio,
yeah.
Jack of the River, he was tough. What, Rivera was a linebacker?
Rivera was a linebacker, right? Yeah. Dave Wyman, the Seahawks color announcer, linebacker.
Best chuckles in the game.
We didn't go through the best chuckles from...
Oh, man. On the Bobby Wagner return, it was all Wyman chuckles.
You go back and...
Oh, I just caught it when you played it. Like, yeah.
He's out across the 30, the 40, midfield, down the far sidelines. Is he going to outrun everybody? He is. It's Bobby Wagner from the goal line, 99 yards. He lays down in the end zone. Somebody bring him oxygen.
Yeah, they were in there.
There are some chuckles in there. I think Rabel did get confused, though. I think instead of for Wagner asking for oxygen, I think it might have been Rabel. Like, I think he may needed a little extra O2.
That was a 50-second clip, and you keep finding a place to get out at during a clip like that. And no, he's just going.
Yeah, it's full throttle, man.
Well, my better at life this week is for the NFL. Suspending 49ers long snapper Kyle Nelson for, guess what? Performance-enhancing drugs for a long snapper.
What?
I feel like if there's one position on an NFL football field where you just kind of go, yeah, not that big of a deal, it's with the long snapper. How do you do a PED suspension for a long snapper? These guys should be excused. And I'm definitely willing to accept that his excuse that he's used the same kind of supplements his whole entire career. This is a guy who's 32. He's had a long career in the NFL. And you think a long snapper is going to go out there and try and, like, they're barely hanging on anyway. If a team's looking to cut salary and, you know, they're looking at special teams, because you can find long snappers. This is a guy who's 32. And I know he's not going to be trying to cut any corners just to try and stay in the league. I don't buy it. And I don't like the fact that the NFL has gone from, on his second violation of this, to giving him a 10-game suspension. So for the NFL, leave Kyle Nelson alone and do better.
Wait a second. This is a second violation?
Yeah, because I think with the first one, you get a 4-game suspension. And so now it's 10.
Well, once is a coincidence, twice is a trend. Like what? Like, let's say he was juicing as a long snapper. Like, how much extra strength do you need to fling the ball, 7 yards backwards?
What good is...
Where's the advantage?
Where's the advantage for a long snapper?
Because they don't block. They just stand in the way. Touch them. No.
They go down the field and tackle, but they're not big dudes.
Yeah.
They're usually the smallest guy on the field.
Yeah, man. Pick on somebody else. Long snappers have it hard enough, dude. Come on.
You're telling me that some of these, 6'6", 6'7", like super jacked dudes, and then there's your long snapper who's like 6'1" and just is like a normal guy. Like, he probably needs something extra just to be able to pack on a little bit of weight so he can make it on the field.
Right. Exactly. It's the one regular guy position. Like, let him be.
Let it be. This should be your petition for the NFL. Leave long snappers alone. Let them juice up on the field.
I can get on board with that too. You know what else I can get on board for, Brandon?
Science
fiction. And my better at life than Skip Bayless this week is for CBS. Because you know what CBS is doing, Brandon? They are doing something that's long overdue, something that I need back in my life, and they are going to deliver in 2019. Guess which favorite captain of mine is making a return to the small screen? Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Oh, yeah.
Gets his own series, Picard. Great title, too. Just Picard.
Picard.
Yeah. If he was a little piratey, maybe you'd say it more that way. I don't know. But it's very exciting. As somebody who was... one of the things that my dad and I bonded over the most when I was like a kid is we'd sit down and we watched Star Trek Next Generation every week, on Thursday nights when it came out. Like that was it. And there's no greater character in all of sci-fi than Jean-Luc Picard. I love Patrick Stewart. I love this whole concept. Apparently it's going to be very different than anything that's been done before. And I'm sure in the little trailer that I saw, it looks like they're going to be bringing back some old favorites as well. Old cast characters. You got Commander Riker. Looks like he's making a cameo. Looks like Worf is going to be in there too.
Wait. How is Captain Picard not made Admiral by now?
He may have, and I think he's retired. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I was just saying that's like there's something going on if he hasn't earned Admiral yet.
Well, I think he did. Then he got busted back down to captain, and like you got to, who knows?
I don't think you get busted down from Admiral to captain.
No, doesn't that happen in one of the Star Trek movies to either Kirk or I think that happens to Kirk.
That doesn't happen in the real Navy either. I mean,
no. What happens if you don't get busted down for? Well, I guess there's nobody to bust you down. Well,
when you're that
chief,
high ranking, you don't get busted down.
You just retire. Yeah, well, I don't know. He's retired maybe in this show. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah.
I'm just super excited because he is the best. He is the best captain of all the captains in sci-fi.
The new Captain Kirk's pretty good.
Yeah, he's good, but he's no Jean-Luc.
Okay.
Jean-Luc's the best, hands down.
Yeah.
So CBS, Patrick Stewart, Jean-Luc Picard, better at life than Skip Bayless.
Well, just as you have a former ship captain returning to the screen, my better at life is for a former athlete that's looking to get back into professional athleticism.
Oh.
Former NFL defensive lineman Jared Allen has taken up curling, Adam, and he wants to take it all the way to the 2022 Olympics.
Oh, Jared, I want Jared Allen. Pick me to be on your team too. Like I will totally do middle-aged, non-athletic, athletic things with you. Like I will sweep my ass off. Pick me.
Well, unfortunately, you don't have an Olympic background because that sounds like the directions he's going for his.
I have a championship. I have a Spring League championship trophy.
Spring League championship trophy. Yeah.
It's a true fact. I went out on top.
So he competed here recently with former NFLer Mark Bulger, professional curler Hunter Clausen, and former Olympian John Benton.
Huh.
They're getting it done. And so it's cool. They've got a couple NFLers. They got a couple pros, and they're going to make a run at it for the Olympics. And for that, Jared Allen, better at life than Skip Bayless.
I didn't know Mark Bulger was still around.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I thought he retired from the Rams and, like, just disappeared off the face of the planet.
Mark Bulger is a way better curling name than it is a quarterback name.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, he may have found his calling late in life.
Hey, for both him and Allen.
I don't know. Bulger had a couple nice years.
Oh, yeah.
As a quarterback.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He could sling it a little. He's a catfishing Ram, but...
I know. Well, that's why my better at life's for Jared Allen.
Who is almost a Seahawk at one point.
It was close.
We tried to get him.
But yeah, former NFLer.
Yeah.
Going at it for curl.
I don't know. I can't remember how it came about, but you know how his sack dance was to like rope something?
Yeah.
Like we started calling it roping the muffin. Looked like he was roping a muffin. I don't know why, but that was like it's like joke among friends. Yeah. Oh, there's Jared Allen. He's roping the muffin. I can't remember the context, but it felt funny at the time. That's all I remember about Jared Allen's career.
You know what sport he looked at before he decided to go with curling?
Oh, no, this is really good. I'm going to go with pickleball.
Ooh, very close.
Okay. Handball.
No,
that's Jake Plummer's. Nobody else can do that. Okay.
Badminton.
Oh, solid choice.
You got to expect Jared Allen wants to be around the shuttlecock.
For sure. For sure. Plus, that's a game that you can accomplish much like curling with a beer in hand.
I bet that's how he narrowed it down. It's like, which games can I play with a beer in my hand?
Right.
Badminton, curling. Okay. Which one am I better at? Curling.
Yeah. Well, and in all honesty, and people might say this is poppycock, but curling is far more fun than badminton.
Did you just say poppycock?
Poppycock.
Yeah. Okay.
Poppycock. Isn't I've heard both.
I've never heard it called the shuttlecock. So
suck my cosh.
Won't even have to catfish that. Well done.
Exactly. Thanks.
Well, it is the first show of the month, so let's thank our members of the flock in at 12 and above.
Keith Ketover, a.k.a. Flocktimus Prime, University of Cybertron, Little Flockers, Roll Out.
DCH from Sparks, Nevada, the University of Montana Grizzlies.
Annalisa Mickelson, a.k.a. Mrs. Doug Baldwin, New York, undergrad, University of North Carolina, Greensboro, graduate school, Brooklyn College.
Eric Trench, rooting for the Seahawks out of Renton, Washington, graduated from Eastern Washington University.
Gary Blum from Chappaqua, New York, and the University of Pennsylvania, your 2016 Pick'em League champion.
Ron Pepper, UNLV Runnin' Rebels, San Francisco, California.
David Bloomquist, Hong Kong Hawk. Ma-sheng Yishu She Ye.
Kevin Stenjum, Keene, Texas.
Ella Esparza, Woodway, Texas, Yale University, and Sam Houston State, Eat 'em Up Cats.
Lisa in Seattle.
Sam Sullivan from the wonderful land of Oz, the Forte State University.
Paul from San Diego.
Vincent Parker, Emily Carr, University of Art Design, RN Collective.
Hector Delgadillo from Los Angeles, California.
Samuel Jackson Gelber, the Pasadena City College.
David Van Clee, Camas, Washington, home of the Papermakers.
Garrett Strongbanks, Northern Ontario, Georgian College.
Jameson Holman from Murray, Utah, representing Mississippi State University. Hail State and go Hawks.
And continuing down the list, we have associate producer Dustin Mock, Ross in Eureka, California, John in New York, Pepper in Greenville, South Carolina, Christina in Manassas, Virginia, Summer in Vancouver, Sven in Teltow, Deutschland, Roe in Federal Way, James in Linwood, Hector in Issaquah, Mark in Kirrup, Western Australia, Becca in Manhattan Beach, California, Young in Anchorage, John Paul in Palmer, Alaska, Kathy in Eureka, California, Joshua in London, Christian in Bergen, Norway, Brandon in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Jonathan in Ridgefield, Thomas in the Bronx, Craig in Pasco, Glenn in Sanford, Florida, Leland in West Jordan, California, Jared in Missoula, Taylor in Federal Way, Keegan in Colorado Springs, John in Pierce, Nebraska, Owen in Ashburn, Ireland, Kari in Rochester, Brian in Berlin, Connecticut, Gary in Kaneohe, Hawaii, E. Wolf in Seattle, Tracy in Kaneohe, Hawaii, Jeff in Waddell, Arizona, Michael in Tucson, Arizona, Brian in Sugar Land, Texas, Taylor in South Cleellum, Brian in Portland, Dean somewhere in the Greater Hockdom, Marvin in Riverdale, Utah, Connie in Gothenburg, Sweden, Max in Honolulu, Lisa in Kelowna, BC, Eric in Clovis, California, JC in Billericay, Great Britain, Patrick in Arlington, Scott in Fresno, California, Triangle in Marysville, Shannon in Odessa, Florida, Mark in Tacoma, Aaron in Frederick, Maryland, John C. somewhere in the Greater Hockdom, Paul in Minneapolis, Don in the Pacific Northwest, and Seth in Tacoma. Go Hawks. A huge thanks to all of our members of the flock.
Oh man, it's the coolest group of people ever. I don't know how they managed to coalesce here, but they did, and I'll keep you. You make my life better.
I'm thinking I'm going to hang out with some of these folks coming up here in Santa Clara.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me, the NorCal Seahawkers.
Mm-hmm.
They've got some stuff going on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
So check that out. And I'll be sure and put that up on our Facebook page.
Well, cool. Well, I wish I could join you down there and all the little flockers, but I'll be torturing young children on Santa's lap. So
have fun with that.
There's that. Yeah. I don't want to do that.
And with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. take me with you, dude.
Why don't you just come to the game, dude?
Just sneak me on board.
I'll buy you a ticket.
Santa doesn't need me.